Thank you very much once again, viewers, for meeting with me today again on my program. Today I'm going to be talking to a man who is the managing director of the Capital Hotel Groups. So I will be talking about his business, how he's managing his business and his marriage. So let me start with the business side. He started his business at a tender age of 28 towards the 2010 World Cup that was hosted in South Africa. So I'm also reliably informed that he started with a very simple apartment and he worked his way to a staggering 10 hotels up to date. He's also into other businesses like real estate. He's a committed family man. He fears God, he loves people, he loves almost everyone, to say. So I'm honored to be interviewing him today. Marc Wachsberger, welcome to my program.
Thanks, Bob.
I believe that in marriage and business, there are some other things that can be affecting, that one side can be affected or either the other side can be affected. I think it's a fact that marriages can fail because of businesses, or conversely, businesses fail because of marriages. So how do you balance the two?
It's a tough balance. It's a balance that I'm yet to perfect. It's a balance that I have to fight every single day to work very hard on. But I think what it comes down to is that for years and years, I have said, what is my priority? Is it my business or is it my family? And obviously at some point in time, I've realized that those priorities are actually aligned and that we're working towards a common incentive. Hayley, my wife, knows that as much as it's my business, it's also her business, because the success of my business is something that obviously feeds her at home and looks after our children and looks after our livelihood. Conversely, Hayley's role at home is incredibly important in my eyes. So it's a true partnership where we can't do one without the other. I just happen to be better at business in the form of real estate and hotels than her, but she happens to be better in optometry than me, as she's an optometrist, and she's really much better at looking after the children than me, but she teaches me every day how to do that, and I'm improving in that aspect as well.
Quite interesting. Okay. You said Hayley is of much help in your marriage. Does it mean that she knew what she was getting into before you got married? Because I know that maybe before you are married, someone's just happy that I'm going to be married to this guy is doing this and that and that and that. But then most of the times you won't be around. But then, is it like she knew that Marc won't be around, like for half of the day or 24 hours a day? Was she aware of that?
I think that one thing in the Jewish religion that I think is really particularly good is before you get married, you go for marriage lessons. And those marriage lessons, hosted by a counselor, is all designed to make sure all of these questions are asked and answered before you get married. And some of the questions were, a lot of what ifs. What if your husband needs to go away for an extended business trip? How do you feel? Right down to how many kids do you want and how many kids do you want? And, so this array of questions and a discussion means that there's no misunderstanding at the time of getting married. And so I believe Hayley's known all the way that I have business as a passion. It's something that drives me, it excites me. Beyond obviously the monetary gains out of business, it's what I love, it's what I do. And it's because she's aware of that, she supports me through it. And I think that nothing's changed. Maybe all of a sudden, if my life changed, such that I was forced to go away for a very long time on business, then all of a sudden that deserves a conversation. And it's not exclusively my decision to make, because at the time of entering marriage, it's a partnership with an understanding that I work hard hours. You know, didn't come home at before 6 p.m., 7 p.m., but I also didn't come home at 11 p.m. every night. So if it had to change, then it deserves a joint decision and joint consultation.
Well, viewers, from what Mark has just told us here, I think communication is the key here also. Maybe we are learning that before we get into marriage, we need to be coached somewhere, somehow. And Mike has mentioned that in their Jewish religion, they teach women before they go into marriage. But I know that it's different from most of us out there. We are not given these lessons that, okay, this is what your husband is going to be doing, and we don't discuss how many kids do we want to have. Oh, it's so amazing, Mark, to hear that. Yeah, I'm learning.
We loved it. We loved those lessons. Because it gave us a nice, they call it a space without judgment, a space in confidence, a space that was moderated to be a safe space at the end of the day, to talk very openly and honestly with one another. So communication is the key for sure, Bobs.
That touched me a lot. And also, maybe we are talking about Haley. She's got such a gorgeous wife, just to tell you guys.
I agree.
Maybe Haley is an adult, maybe because you spoke about it before, and then when she got into a marriage, she knew everything that was going to happen in a marriage. So maybe because she's an adult. And your kids, how do you install your character into your kids?
Well, again, it's going to be something that's a challenge every day to continue to persevere and push. If it was so easy, then kids would just be able to raise themselves. But I think one of the most important things is that I teach our children about humility, and I teach our children about love and, as you said, a fear for God. Because ultimately I still believe everything that we do is ultimately in kind of the eye of God. We're servants to God at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that I teach them what my wife tells me to teach them.
Interesting. That's for you made up there. If you're listening to what you just said now, I like it. Because I believe you have got helpers. So they spend with your wife also, she's working and you are working. So most of the time is spent with the helpers, with your children. So I just wanted to know how you manage that time. Was like maybe during the day, okay, let's say maybe 8-10 hours per day. When you come back from work, the kids are about to go to sleep, and then tomorrow day you wake up at 5 o'clock, then you go, and then most of the times you're not with the children. So how do you manage?
So firstly, I don't come home that late anymore. I used to. That was the deal that I got into with Haley in the beginning. But I realized, obviously, that as priorities changed with the children coming into the family, that I needed to get home earlier, and so I pushed to get home much earlier. But a friend of mine, actually someone that you know, a guy by the name of Iran, told me once, he said, "Mark, you're an A player at work. You're a superstar at work. I give you an A+. What kind of player are you at home? Are you a D player? Are you a C player?" And he said, even if we all strive and try at least to be an A player at home, then you'll find that there's a shift from being a D player even to maybe where I am today, which is I'm a B player at home. Okay, so the point is that if you come home and you say home is a place where after work I must just lie down and relax and not engage with your children, not engage with your wife, then really you failed. You've got probably an F minus. But if you come home and you save energy from work to come home and be fully engaged and play with the kids and teach the kids and obviously spend time with your wife, then you're starting to head towards an A plus as well.
Well, I like your honesty there. Okay, and the other thing is, it is actually very difficult to be humble. And I've seen that you are very, very humble. Is it something that is inborn, or you practice it, working very hard to earn it,
No, I think that what I've seen over the years, I don't think it's something that's inborn. Humility must be learned in my mind. I think that I've witnessed people who have acted without humility, who have become arrogant, and who have gone sky high and then sometimes fell very low, and not treated people well around them, and not really been servants of God at the end of the day. And I think that I've seen how that's led them to be unhappy, and so I've made a decision to act with humility. I've read a lot of books around humility. I've read, by the way, a book that's called From Good to Great, which is a business book that has been almost the guide of my business journey. It's called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he talks about a leader being what he calls a level 5 leader, which is essentially a leader who leads with humility. And he pulls the people in his organization along, as opposed to pushes everyone to go. He leads from the front, and he leads with humility. And that leadership value of humility is what led all these brilliant companies around the world to be the most successful. They went from good to being great. And when you see a lot of companies today that have an arrogant leader, actually they fail, because it disempowers all the people in the company who work for that leader because of their arrogance. And in the hotel sector in which I'm in, that's the strongest place of leading with arrogance, unfortunately, is rife in the hotel industry. And we've been very successful in leading with humility. But leadership, be it at work or be it at home with the family, is still leadership. And you need to lead a family, and you need to lead a household with humility as well.
quite interesting also. Honored today to have the managing director of the Capital Hotel Group today, and I've just learned also that arrogance leads to failure. I think it's very simple, because from what I can assess, there are very difficult things that we opt to do, but we leave the easiest thing to do. I can choose to be very arrogant, and you can find out that quite a number of people are very arrogant. It's quite rare to find CEOs who can be very, very humble, who can be hands-on, who can teach you maybe something that is valuable in your life. So also this also apply to women out there, because I know we've got women who are CEOs out there. It also applies to businessmen also out there. It also applies to pastors who are very busy with church members, and then they neglect, or maybe they forget their wives and children at home. And also there are women who are also pastors there. So I think conversely is this thing is teaching everyone, it's either men, depending on the position that you have. So the other thing also, Mark, is you are a boss at work. You make major decisions. At home, you are a father. You are a husband. Will you allow someone to come and make major decisions in your home?
Yeah, of course. I mean, firstly, I don't like the word boss. The word boss is an arrogant word, actually. And it comes from an arrogant place, and it's very old school. It's not the way I like to be. So I'm a partner at work. I'm a partner with my people, not a boss of the people. I don't dictate to them. We've been going through COVID-19, as you know, and we had to change our entire business model to adapt to a new normal. And I didn't tell everyone what to do. I invited them to partner with me in changing the business. And so a partnership approach is the right approach. And similarly, when it comes to home, I'm not the boss, that's for sure. I don't think my wife knows that if anyone's the boss, it's her. But the reality is none of us are bosses, we're partners. And so I invite anyone who is a partner within our household to have a full dialogue, and let's make decisions together.
Well, quite interesting. We're learning a lot today. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you is that besides your a wife and husband relationship, or a kids and a father relationship, you have friends also out there and your relatives out there. So since you started your business, have you lost some of your friends, some of your relatives, or you've gained?
I'd say that it's been a consequence of it. I definitely feel like I've lost or I've distanced. I won't say I've lost any friends. I would say I've distanced from friends, which I think is a natural consequence of having priorities. So I have, my priority is my family, my wife, and my business. And so by implication of that, the time and the energy, as I said, that A+ energy that goes into those three spheres does leave little energy for friendships. But that's me. That's because for me it's maybe not an absolute strength of mine. Someone else might find that strength comes through continuous dialogue with friendships. So I don't speak to my friends daily, but when I do speak to them, maybe weekly or even sometimes a little bit less than that, we pick up exactly where we left off, and I'm fully engaged with them. And by the way, I never ever go to any business meeting or any meeting with friends with my phone in my hand. I don't engage with my friends like this. When I'm now talking to my friends, I'm talking to them and I'm fully engaged with them, so I have a lot of good time with my friends. And the same with my relatives. You know, the more distant relatives, of course you drift, but then when I see them and I talk to them, I pick up with energy where we left off and continue a great dialogue.
Wow, today I'm getting a lot. I'm taking a lot of lessons. Okay, let's digress a bit. You talked about coronavirus. I think may you please also explain to us how your business, how coronavirus is affecting your business and how you intend to improve it?
So when the coronavirus hit, we were having our best year. We had like an 80% occupancy in February, March, and then all of a sudden it was a 10% occupancy. Why? Because everyone had to cancel their plans. In South Africa, you're not allowed to travel at all for a lockdown period. And of course, even now that one is allowed to travel and do business travel is permitted, people are still very fearful. So the business of old just disappeared. And so what we had to do is we had to pivot and we had to adapt and we had to change our business to find new markets. And the new markets that we had is because we are into apartment hotels in particular, we were able to secure a lot of isolation business, which is people who need to stay in the apartment, just isolating, either because in one of our hotels we have that they actually get COVID, they contract COVID. We don't want it to spread to their families or friends, so they stay isolating in our apartment. Or two is they think they might have it, they come back from a flight and they have to quarantine for 14 days to make sure that they don't have it, so they stay in our apartments. And so at the end of the day, we've had to change our whole business, and obviously also do just regular apartment rental. We rent out our apartments now for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, just to get a new source of income. So it's been very tough, but because we have the ability to adapt and change, we're actually doing very well, and we have put ourselves onto a new path.
Great to hear that, and I wish you all the best. Yes, we are all praying that this coronavirus will come to an end, because nobody knew that it was going to be like this. And from the day I think I started to hear about it, it started as a joke, and then we didn't know that this was going to take us like this far. Then you're going to be on lockdown and you can't go anywhere, and a lot is happening caused by this coronavirus. But okay, let's go back to our theme. You said with your family, you are keeping. From what I've seen, hear you. From what I heard you saying, you keep your relationship with your friends. You are keeping your relationship with your family members, your relatives, your kids, and your wife. I think it's so interesting to hear that, because most people, we end up failing to balance all these relationships. But I thank you so much, Mark, for taking your time, leaving your busy schedule, and making my interview possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbs.